opens with a profound proclamation that each individual possesses a fundamental instinct for survival. In a desolate terrain strewn with skeletal remains, the somber oration reflects on the arduous odyssey that has led our protagonist to this juncture. 99 endeavors have been undertaken before this moment, culminating in a resolute determination to conquer the final challenge. Positioned at the threshold of the 20th trial, he encounters a host of celestial entities serving as formidable guardians. Observing these beings, he hypothesizes that the final trial may be shielded by sentinel golems tasked with defending a secretive portal in the distance. It is clear that these sentinels will not facilitate an effortless passage. Consequently, our hero summons a weapon of a deep crimson shade, akin to a scythe. In response, the guardians prepare for confrontation, brandishing their arms as one initiates the attack, unleashing the seal of death. Our protagonist evokes a scarlet, skull-shaped aura enveloping the golem, signaling the commencement of an epic confrontation. With exceptional agility, he strikes the golem, aware that his skill enhances damage by 100 following its successful execution on a foe. The guardians converge on him, prompting him to activate the Night of Death skill, which engulfs the area in complete darkness. This tactic effectively blinds the golems, enabling him to slice through them with ease, as though they were insubstantial. Just as triumph appears imminent, a massive golem emerges, offering no opportunity for rest. This formidable adversary initiates a rapid onslaught, combining icy and fiery assaults. Concurrently, a barrage from additional golems intensifies the pressure. Necessitated by the situation, he accelerates beyond normal limits, generating spectral doubles that surround the giant golem. As it prepares to unleash a fiery salvo, akin to an arrow storm, the flaming projectiles seem to consume our hero in their descent. Fortuitously, the blistering onslaught only annihilates his ethereal clones, sparing him from harm. In retaliation, he goads the golem, signaling that overcoming him would be an arduous task. The environment, previously aglow with fiery hues, shifts to a vibrant blue as the golem inscribes a mystical rune beneath him, trapping him in a glacial enclosure. Despite the precarious situation, he remains unfazed, anticipating the golem's aerial offensive. At the critical juncture, the icy confines start to fracture when he unleashes his moonlight destruction skill, severing the ice and the golem in one seamless strike. Unharmed, he mentally concedes the close call and discerns that a protracted conflict with the golems would be futile if faced individually. With resolute determination, he resolves to conclude the conflict with a singular definitive action. The golems prepare their elemental onslaught of fire and ice, targeting him directly. In response, he initiates his moonlight destruction, Red Moon skill, executing a majestic arc with his weapon. He cleaves through the assembled golems, obliterating them in one comprehensive strike. The moment had arrived for him to unveil the mysteries safeguarded by the formidable guardians. As he entered the room, he was engulfed by a sense of awe, observing that the environment mirrored a consecrated temple. The doorway, emanating an aura of mystery, intensified his curiosity about the concealed realms beyond. He speculated on the significance of his journey and the potential of a pivotal encounter awaiting him. His visage was adorned with an anticipatory smile as he entertained the thought of concluding the game. Yet his optimism was abruptly thwarted by a pop-up notification, revealing that the entry requirement for the boss chamber was merely 1 out of 5, indicating the necessity of 5 players to access the boss room. This revelation left our protagonist in a state of bewilderment, questioning the unexpected prerequisite. The system dispassionately announced that he was the sole player before the boss room and ominously intimated that demise would befall him in 5 seconds should he fail to satisfy the prerequisites. Overwhelmed by frustration and indignation, he exclaimed in dismay, perplexed by the undisclosed requirement. As the countdown inexorably decreased from 5 to 1, feelings of powerlessness and despair overwhelmed him. Observing his own figure beginning to dissipate, he recognized the futility of resistance. With vanishing hands and a resigned demeanor, he acquiesced to his apparent destiny. Upon the countdown cessation, he disappeared completely, and the system chillingly confirmed his demise. Subsequently, a message appeared, indicating that he had activated the rune of regression. The system then revealed its intention to revert time to the juncture preceding the initial round and noted that all 100 uses of the rune had been expended. The system subsequently declared that the rune of regression would disappear. A final alert then signified the onset of our protagonist's 100th regression. The narrative transitions to a magnificent city, alive with a crowd brimming with excitement for an impending event. As the atmosphere thickened with anticipation, a proclamation resonated, initiating a collective countdown. With only 5 seconds remaining, the assembled masses enthusiastically participated, counting down from 5 to 1. Concurrently, our protagonist, immersed within the crowd, internally lamented his return to the instant preceding his entanglement in this relentless pursuit. Observing his clenched fists, he harbored a desire to arrest the passage of time. Despite having advanced to the formidable 20th round, an alert materialized, indicating the depletion of all 100 uses of his time reversal rune. With renewed resolve, he pledged to conclude the game on his final attempt. He realized he needed to recruit 4 additional participants for the final round. Reflecting on his options, he recalled a recent conversation among friends about transitioning to adulthood. One friend had cheerfully remarked on the obsolescence of fake eds post-graduation. Another was considering a career as a delivery person, subsequently seeking advice from Young Min. Declaring his intention to lead a life as a gangster, Young Min faced skepticism and worry from his peers. Undeterred, he expressed his aspiration for an unconventional existence, citing the mantra, "We only live once." Privately, his peers deemed him impetuous and contemplated distancing themselves post-graduation, querying about the protagonist's future and his shuttle endeavors. Young Min, referring to the protagonist, admitted a reluctance to sever ties, suggesting that the protagonist harbored apprehensions about post-graduation life. His friends, in a jesting manner, likened Young Min to a mischievous entity, while he, amused, committed to prolonging their shared escapades. Our protagonist attracted attention, prompting one of Young Min's friends to alert him. Concurrently, an announcer indicated the pivotal moment's arrival, initiating a countdown from 5. Young Min recognized the protagonist, noting an unusual demeanor as the latter revealed his face and stared intently at Young Min, causing bewilderment due to the unfamiliar intensity. Amid the announcement of the new year, Young Min contemplated the protagonist's penetrating gaze. His companion suggested overlooking the matter for the time being, highlighting the significance of the new year's commencement and future encounters. Young Min, albeit with some reluctance and whispered complaints, conceded to give the protagonist some space. In the backdrop, another friend celebrated their entry into adulthood, and the atmosphere resonated with Happy New Year exultations. An enigmatic voice suddenly interrupted, pondering the oddity of humanity's New Year celebrations without full awareness of their situation. Youngmin turned towards his companion, suspecting the voice was his. But the friend disclaimed any utterance. They collectively looked upwards, bewildered by the source of the mysterious sound. An angelic entity appeared, amused by the naivete of humans, comparing them to confined primates. Observing from an angel's viewpoint, the crowd was taken aback, with some speculating whether the celestial figure was genuinely an angel or part of a New Year's spectacle. One person expressed readiness to accept the apparition as reality, while another commented on the angel's remarkable allure. Although our protagonist had grown familiar with her visage, he continued to nurse a profound animosity. Despite experiencing this scenario 99 times, the angel found amusement in the humans' reactions, derisively referring to them as insignificant and suggesting their infatuation with her appearance. She expressed her disinterest in their presence, deeming them as inconsequential. With a disconcerting smile, she mocked their silent astonishment, hinting at their mesmerization by her presence. Yet her conceit attracted the attention of a man in the crowd, who vocally questioned her identity, insinuating that she was merely masquerading as an angel. He disparaged her, leading to a tense moment. The protagonist observed the scene with quiet regret. The angel's demeanor momentarily shifted to silence, then her expression darkened, her eyes adopting a threatening red hue. The man who had challenged her suffered a violent end, causing pandemonium as the crowd dispersed in terror. Overcome with astonishment, Youngmin quietly expressed his confusion. The angel, adopting a threatening demeanor, rebuked the humans for their informal manner of address. She declared that questioning her authority was beyond their rights, and warned that the consequences witnessed could extend to others. She grudgingly agreed to elucidate the situation, advising them to listen carefully. Despite her protagonist's dismay, the angel revealed that they would participate in a 20-round game, occurring on the first day of each month. She detailed that their spirits would be transported to an alternate realm to undertake quests and overcome challenges. Successful individuals would gain rewards and re-enter the real world. Confusion spread among the crowd, and in seeking understanding, one person interpreted her announcement as offering a survival opportunity. Yet, she clarified that not all completers of the quests would be spared. The angel specified her selection process. She would save only half of the participants, based on the order in which they finished the quests. Attempting to allay the crowd's alarm, she assured them that not everyone would be taken. She specified that only individuals aged between 15 and 29 globally would participate in the game. The protagonist contemplated the repetitive nature of this game, which he had experienced 100 times, each time he reached the age of 20. Within the crowd, an elderly man's expression of relief at his exemption sparked annoyance among others, who perceived his comment as exacerbating the situation. Youngmin stepped in, emphasizing the seriousness of the context and reminding them of the earlier casualty. After tallying, the angel announced the game's vast scale with 1,812,912,290 participants. Upon concluding her briefing, she initiated the game. Abruptly, the protagonist was enveloped in a vast expanse of white. The angel explained that each participant had been isolated in their unique space, unseen by others, where they must configure their physiques in readiness for the soul transfer. This was a singular opportunity for customization, and she advised careful selection. Internally, the protagonist chose to retain his previous incarnation's attributes, adopting the moniker Black Scythe. In this landscape, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, orchestrating a serene symphony of nature. Black Scythe materialized in this realm, musing over his unchanged appearance for the 100th time since his 12th attempt, which now felt like his genuine form. As others materialized, some were perplexed about their location, while others were astonished by the tangible alterations in their physiques. One individual boastfully disclosed his choice of a celebrity's visage, leading to a peer's validation of his decision. Observing silently, the protagonist noted the collective effort to appear appealing but considered it imprudent. Given the survival of the fittest rule in this domain where allure could render one vulnerable, the consequence of demise in this alternate reality was an actual death in the real world. He recognized that the commencement was imminent. Youngmin appeared, now with an enhanced muscular build. The angel arrived, remarking on the evident joy in their expressions upon witnessing their newly fashioned avatars. She announced that 1,829,110 individuals were present, representing all the human entities in soul. This revelation elicited astonishment from one and skepticism from another regarding the count. The angel responded with amusement at their limited comprehension, elucidating that individuals were dispersed across different realms, each overseen by various angels and advancing through their rounds. She exhorted them to focus on their personal progression and commenced a straightforward briefing. They were instructed to open their status window, which appeared before them. Black Scythe, familiar with this interface from his numerous game cycles, inwardly sighed. The angel pointed out their nascent capabilities, noting that their previous gaming experiences might underscore the paucity of their current powers. She motivated them to enhance their strength, promising liberation from the survival game, and the fulfillment of a wish for those who persevered and triumphed in the 20th round. The announcement of a potential wish spurred shock and interest among the participants, though they quickly recognized that this boon would be exclusive to the top achiever. Subsequently, the angel advised them to inspect their inventory, hinting at a special item awaiting them. Adhering to the angel's guidance, they explored their inventory, uncovering a rune fragment. The angel clarified that this randomly assigned rune fragment, a one-time use artifact for level 1, was the initial item allocated to them. To utilize it, participants were instructed to hold it and mentally command use, their anticipation for the game's enigmatic mechanics growing. Upon activating the rune fragment, they observed its gradual dissipation in astonishment. The angel commented on their varied reactions, signifying the divergence of their destinies, and advised them to embrace the outcomes as a matter of fortune. Announcing the completion of the rune imprinting, she signaled the commencement of the game with a snap of her fingers, eliciting a system notification. This notification disclosed the first round quest, to vanquish 100 goblins. As the goblins appeared and advanced, the participants were left in awe. Questions arose about the reality of the goblins, while others pondered the eerily game-like scenario. Speculation within the group ranged from theories of an elaborate virtual reality game to secretive experimental activities. The angel tempered the growing excitement with a caution that the full contingent of goblins had yet to be revealed. As the number of goblins swelled, so did the participants' apprehension. Ken darkened as she declared an immense conflict. 10,000 humans pitted against 50,000 goblins in a mortal struggle. The advancing goblins incited widespread panic. Amidst the turmoil, the protagonist courageously moved forward, confronting the goblin horde. Observers, worried about the peril of his proximity, speculated on his motives, yet he remained focused, initiating combat by striking a goblin forcefully in the head. In such a collective scenario, making a strong initial impact is crucial. Intent on establishing his dominance, the protagonist aimed to solidify his presence in the collective consciousness. His decisive action against the goblin served to highlight his formidable strength, capturing the crowd's attention and aiming for a performance that resonated with authority. As he adeptly eliminated the advancing goblins, onlookers watched in admiration. A girl in the crowd, intrigued by his prowess, speculated on his identity, comparing him to an elite operative, while his moniker, Black Scythes, earned widespread respect. The encroaching goblins prompted speculation about the player's proficiency in the game, yet there was an initial assurance in their capacity to manage the threat, particularly with Black Scythe's presence. However, this assurance crumbled as a goblin's fatal assault claimed one of their own, triggering widespread panic and disorderly retreat. The protagonist, deeply engaged in combat, was acutely aware of the horrifying screams of those succumbing to the goblins. The situation had escalated into a dire reality, with survival becoming the paramount concern for everyone involved. He pondered his early misjudgment, acknowledging the inescapability of this realm. Those unaccustomed to combat found themselves significantly challenged by the goblins. To endure in this game, adapting and tapping into their survival instincts became essential. The battleground was saturated with blood, scattered with the lifeless and the desperate escapees or those caught in the goblins' ruthless advance. Observing the havoc, an angel's laughter resonated, her amusement evident at the stark contrast between the small-statured goblins and the humans, who were armed only with basic daggers. The protagonist's performance sparked the angel's curiosity, leading her to covertly track his quest achievements. She expressed silent dissatisfaction with the system's limited data on players, yet found the human's endeavors and resilience intriguing. A notification appeared for the protagonist, acknowledging his triumph over a goblin with rewards of add 4 experience and add 10 gold, and heralding his level advancement. He needed to vanquish 25 more goblins to complete his quest. When a goblin attacked, he deftly avoided it, efficiently eliminating the oncoming swarm. The goblins eventually hesitated, intimidated by the formidable blood-drenched warrior who seized this pause to recuperate. He consulted his status window, which displayed his name, Ryrene, with the alias Black Scythe, at level 4, and holding a beginner rank. He had not yet selected a class, and all his attributes were at 3 points. Determined to prioritize agility, he recognized its critical role in enhancing dodge rate, attack speed, and mobility. For him, agility was crucial in the initial phases of the game. Leveraging his increased speed and advancements, he sought to draw the angel's notice and validate his strategy. He hurled his dagger at a goblin, signaling the others to dare an attack. They froze, allowing him to dash towards his weapon. He then quickly eliminated the remaining goblins, accumulating experience, gold, and another level up. This feat marked the completion of his quest to eliminate 100 goblins, signifying the end of the first round. He internally assessed the first round as an uncomplicated victory, driven by his focus on aggressively hunting the goblins to gain the angel's observation. Although it initially appeared that his efforts were futile, a notification soon confirmed his achievement of the highest rank in quest completion within his zone, and impressively, across all zones. Reflecting on this accomplishment, he understood the importance of completing quests promptly. The quicker the completion, the greater the rewards, with bonuses distributed up to the 3rd rank. For his first place finish in his zone, he received the highly sought-after low-rank rare weapon selection coupon. He realized the reward structure was divided between specific zone, achievements, and overall performance, with a special reward selection box granted for his all-zones first-place finish. As he reviewed the weapons available for his zone reward, he felt grateful for acquiring such a significant asset early in the game, ultimately choosing the stiletto. After confirming his selection with the system, he set aside his old dagger and saved the special reward selection box for future use. Reflecting on a unique title he had earned earlier, he found it to be a novel distinction in his extensive experience of 99 game cycles. He activated the orb, and the system acknowledged his receipt of the rune of Regresso. The system intended to embed the rune in his body, yet reported a malfunction in the integration process, possibly due to the ramifications of establishing a new imprint that might facilitate endless regression. Internally, he deemed the failure as somewhat anticipated, given the hint of infinite regression linked with the new imprint. Subsequently, the system acknowledged the presence of the rune's remnants within his soul, confirming his status as a 100-time imprint, and granted him the title of last-time regressor. Surprised by this discovery, he recognized that titles in this game represent profound concepts of runes, with their significance escalating in relation to the acquisition difficulty. He noted that the more arduous a title is to obtain, the more potent its influence, contrasting with the first priest's ability, which only restored up to 30 of health. In comparison, the last-time regressor offered a complete health restoration capability. With a gratified expression, he contemplated the extraordinary nature of his reward, emblematic of the exceptional outcomes of his persistent endeavors. Privately, he acknowledged the importance of safeguarding this newfound secret. As he stretched, his thoughts shifted to the quest's conclusion, pondering Youngmin's outcome. He observed Youngmin from afar, silently acknowledging his survival. Shortly after, the angel voiced her dissatisfaction with the diminishing human numbers compared to the goblins, apologizing before suggesting an intensification of the ordeal. A participant queried what more fun entailed, and in response, the deceased combatants and their remains were erased from the battlefield, bewildering the survivors. As the goblin forces pressed forward, a palpable sense of dread filled the atmosphere. The angel then summoned an additional 50,000 goblins, precipitating a horrific conflict. Initially, only 1210 out of 5,143 participants successfully completed the quest. As the struggle continued, the count of survivors incrementally increased to 2019. During this turmoil, the protagonist remained calm, witnessing others as they were overwhelmed by the goblin horde. The number of quest completers eventually rose to 3,533. The angel delighted in the unfolding chaos, and swiftly, the total reached 5,143. Subsequently, all goblins disappeared, confounding those who had not finished the quest. The angel then displayed the final count of completions, stating that half had prevailed, while the remainder faced elimination, adhering to the game's stringent regulations. The participants who failed began vanishing, much to the astonishment of those remaining. The angel commented on the survivors' success and granted them the privilege to return, lauding their triumph in the inaugural round. She playfully hinted at the forthcoming challenges of the second round before departing. The results of the first round were then displayed through a system notification, showing Black Scythe at the pinnacle of the leaderboard across all zones, with competitors Stupid Idiots and Heavenly Demon trailing, all having completed the quest in less than 20 minutes. In the protagonist's specific zone, Black Scythe was at the forefront. Succeeded by Life is a documentary and Black Flame Dragon. The system acknowledged Black Scythe's overall top position, awarding him a low-rank rare weapon selection coupon, a special reward box, and an additional 1,000 gold soon to be added to his inventory. He was also informed that the shop would become available upon reaching level 10. The crowd's attention shifted towards the protagonist, who internally recognized his established lead. The angel also acknowledged an individual in her domain who had achieved the highest rankings in multiple areas. Impressed by his performance, the angel turned her focus to Black Scythe, politely inquiring about the source of his remarkable strength and pondering the possibility of special runes. However, she quickly checked herself, recognizing the abruptness of her query. Our protagonist deftly responded, hinting at whether she could ascertain the details of her runes through her own stat window. The angel, somewhat embarrassed, hastily affirmed that her angelic insights allowed her such observations, insisting her question was merely rhetorical. Yet the protagonist's knowing smile hinted at a deeper understanding. He subtly indicated a request, piquing her interest about what favor he might ask. His forthright commentary on the perceived inadequacy of the first-place rewards stirred astonishment among the onlookers. The angel's expression turned foreboding as she sternly asked him to elaborate on his assertion. Unperturbed, the protagonist confidently articulated his request for a more significant reward, candidly expressing dissatisfaction with the current one. A tense silence enveloped the scene, with the angel's features darkening, now mirroring a demonic visage. In a sinister voice, she inquired whether he, a mere human, dared to solicit additional favors from her. She noted her vigilant observation of his performance from the outset, questioning whether he had underestimated her based on his success against the goblins. The angel initially threatened violence, then realized she had forfeited that power, resorting to labeling him as presumptuous. However, she swiftly shifted her stance, suggesting an alternative approach. She acknowledged that such demands would typically be dismissed, but voiced a willingness to entertain his request. She then invited the protagonist for a private discussion, leaving the other participants to speculate enviously. Whispers of jealousy and curious glances emerged, with some considering whether to negotiate for enhanced rewards themselves. They deliberate on the possible extent of such rewards, envying the protagonist's exclusive chance. As he walked past, the protagonist shared a significant glance with young Min, his expression smug. Secluded in the forest, the angel inquired about his cautious distance, expressing a need to affirm his presence and asking him to remain nearby, to which he nonchalantly agreed with a sure. Internally, the angel lamented the necessity of raising her voice to communicate with these seemingly dense humans. Her frustration mounted as she internally criticized their inherent greed and misunderstanding. She acknowledged her lack of authority in determining the rewards and admitted her reluctance to alter them, particularly for the protagonist. With a critical look, she decided to impart a lesson of humility to the protagonist, determined to make him regret his greed. She toyed with the idea of terminating his existence beyond a certain threshold, but then considered the possible ramifications of such an action. Executing a player for personal grievances, especially over fairness complaints, could result in dire consequences. She feared that the higher authorities might hold her accountable for jeopardizing the game's stability, thus contemplating the necessity of leaving no witnesses. With a malevolent smirk, she derisively addressed the protagonist as a foolish human, suggesting that he should have kept his aspirations private. As she turned to query about his preferred recompense, she was unexpectedly struck by a forceful blow from the protagonist, rendering her astonished and disoriented. Now prostrate on the ground with pain pulsating through her, she pondered whether the protagonist had assaulted her with a rapid, irate ascent. Her search for him proved futile, heightening her confusion about his possible disappearance. Unbeknownst to her, he was behind her, grappling with her wings. Experiencing intense pain, she pleaded for cessation, inquiring about his intentions. Her agony was amplified when he extracted one of her wings, to which he jeeringly commented on her theatrical reaction. As he poised to detach the second wing, he callously stated, "Your flight is now precluded," inquiring with mockery if she was in pain. Her response to the evident pain elicited his derisive laughter. With a sneer, he remarked on her unasked question, continuing with his mirthful mockery. She questioned his sanity, seeking clarification on his cryptic words. Seizing her wings, he alleged her possession of a hidden dagger aimed at his demise. Struck by this assertion, she lapsed into silence, and he professed to discern her guilt from her expression. He even addressed her by her name, Brielle, causing her bewilderment at his knowledge of her identity. He disregarded her questions. Unsheathing a dagger, she inquired about his actions and the necessity of the weapon. Sidestepping her queries, she then menaced to unleash her powers and annihilate him. Yet he merely smirked, asserting her incapacity for such feats. Her indignation surged, and she cautioned him of the unforgiving nature of her celestial brethren. He derided the notion, labeling all angels as self-centered, indifferent to her fate. Confounded, she sought clarification, yet he bluntly stated her impending demise. She implored him, arguing the lack of benefit for him, to which he retorted that it indeed served his purpose. She warned him of future remorse and the impossibility of returning home. He disclosed their automatic return mechanism, piquing her curiosity about his knowledge, offering to divulge any information in exchange for her life. He dismissed the need, revealing he had already gleaned essential insights through the ordeal he inflicted upon her. He had uncovered their customs, objectives, and her role as a mere instrument in their grand design, merely serving as a navigator. Without hesitation, he executed a lethal strike to her heart, culminating her existence. An alert promptly surfaced, proclaiming his distinction as the inaugural vanquisher of an angel. This feat bestowed upon him the illustrious title of first ever angel slayer. Internally, he acknowledged his pioneering status, as the system declared his reward, the esteemed rune of slaughter. This unique rune was destined to integrate with his essence. Reflecting on his 13th quest, he recognized these accolades were reserved solely for the pioneer angel slayer, each as singular as an artifact. The title granted him a considerable advantage, doubling his stats against divine-type adversaries. The rune of slaughter, conversely, incrementally boosted his stats by 1% up to a maximum of 100%, with each adversary he defeated. This increment continued until the round's conclusion, providing him a significant strategic benefit. Amid these reflections, he pondered the celestial being's response to his newly acquired rune. Nonetheless, his primary incentive for the angel's demise was the enigmatic angel's blood. This exceptional item, accessible solely to the inaugural